Dr. Johnson was the founder and chief executive of a private student loan company, Reunion Student Loan Financing Corporation, before assuming his official role with the department. Is that correct?
That probably is correct.
Yes, it is.
Let me just interject. And
I would like to continue.
And I would like to make clear that
we'll give you some time. I will get to it. Thank you so much.
The individual you have referred to is not part of the acquisition or procurement.
Ilhan Omar thought she had Betsy DeVos cornered. She came in swinging with accusations of corruption, demanding answers about conflicts of interest and corporate ties. But what happened next wasn't the viral gotcha moment Omar was hoping for. It was a total backfire. DeVos stayed calm, dismantled every claim, and exposed Omar's argument as nothing more than political theater. This exchange shows exactly what happens when a polished professional meets a rehearsed hit job, and it wasn't even close.
Through your top aides, especially those advising you on higher ed and loan servicing. When responding to questions about these conflicts, you have failed to adequately convince Congress and the American people that these conflicts do not interfere with the billions of taxpayer dollars flowing from education to corporate interests. Today, I would like to better understand your decisions for selecting aides and ensuring that their conflicts do not harm taxpayers. Last May, 4 of my colleagues on this committee sent your general counsel a request for information about conflict of interest surrounding your $2 billion next-gen loan servicing solicitation. Given that this solicitation is given, I would like some information about the team that's leading it. Does Dr. A. Wade Johnson, is he the one that's spearheading this solicitation?
Dr. Johnson is head of the Next Gen Initiative.
All right. According to New York Times investigation, Dr. Johnson was the founder and chief executive of a private student loan company, Reunion Student Loan Financing Corporation, before assuming his official role with the department. Is that correct?
That probably is correct.
Yes, it is.
Let me just interject. And
I would like to continue.
And I would like to make clear that
we'll give you some time. I will get to it. Thank you so much. Dr. Johnson was also the executive at the two financial services companies, First Data Corporation and TSYS. Additionally, Dr. Johnson was hired at least one other TSYS veteran, Mr. Patrick Fox. Have any of Dr. Johnson's previous employers bid on elements of next-gen solicitation?
Congresswoman, all of my staff, all of my team at the Department of Education and Federal Student Aid has gone through their ethics process, has taken and takes their ethics obligations very seriously. We don't have conflicts, and we will not be conflicted. We have continued to have a robust screening process, and can stand and be very resolute about that.
So given that there is about $2 billion per year in taxpayer dollars flowing through this program, will you commit to releasing communication between the procurement team and any of Dr. Johnson's former employees?
So all of the procurement is walled off from the rest.
That would just be yes or no. Would you be committed to releasing any communication between Dr. Johnson and his employees?
Not to releasing internal communication, but the procurement team is walled off from the rest of the team, and the procurement process is very definitely prescribed as to how it has to happen.
That has not clearly answered my question. The federal acquisition regulations have a section on conflict of interest. It states, the general rule is to avoid strictly any conflict of interest or even the appearance of conflict of interest in government contract relations. While many federal laws and regulations place restrictions on actions of government personnel, their official conduct must, in addition, be such that they would not have no reluctance to make a full public disclosure of their actions. You seem to have reluctance to make a full public disclosure of the actions of the head of the department's largest single procurement team, despite there being obvious appearance of conflict of interest. How is your denial to release communication in line with extremely high conflict of interest standards that's required by federal law?
The individual you have referred to is not part of the acquisition or procurement team.
Okay. But we need the communication.
What you're about to see is one of those rare congressional moments where the truth completely flips the script. Representative Ilhan Omar went after then Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos, trying to paint her as corrupt and compromised. It was supposed to be a slam-dunk political attack, but instead, it turned into a total collapse. Omar started with confidence. She opened by claiming that countless news sources had exposed conflicts of interest inside DeVos's department. That line alone tells you everything about the strategy. She didn't cite one actual source, just a vague reference meant to sound serious. It's the classic setup: accuse first, fact-check later. From there, Omar honed in on one person, Dr. A. Wayne Johnson. She read off his resume like it was a rap sheet, pointing out that he had founded a private student loan company and worked in financial services before joining the education department. Her implication was clear: this guy must be using his position to help his old friends. But that's where the argument starts to crumble. DeVos didn't take the bait. She didn't raise her voice, didn't interrupt. She calmly stated the facts. Every single person on her team, she explained, goes through a rigorous ethics process before taking on government responsibilities. And most importantly, the procurement process, the one Omar kept referencing, is completely walled off from the rest of the department. Omar didn't like that answer. She pressed again, demanding that DeVos release all communications between the procurement team and Johnson's former employers. She wanted that viral soundbite, something to make DeVos look evasive. But DeVos held her ground. She explained, once again, that those communications were internal because of how federal contracting works, and that nothing improper was happening. That's when Omar tried to pivot. When she realized the direct conflict of interest charge wasn't landing, she started reading federal regulations about avoiding even the appearance of a conflict. Think about that. She moved from facts to feelings, from actual evidence to appearances. It's a typical move when there's nothing substantial left to argue. And then came the knockout blow. DeVos calmly stated, the individual you have referred to is not part of the acquisition or procurement team. In other words, Dr. Johnson, the man Omar built her entire attack around, didn't even have access to the contracts she was accusing him of influencing. The entire premise of Omar's questioning collapsed in a single sentence. You could almost see the air leave the room. Omar was left scrambling, trying to salvage the moment by claiming that the public believes there's a conflict of interest. But even that line gave away the truth. There was no evidence. Just perception. Just the illusion of wrongdoing. What makes this exchange so striking isn't just DeVos's composure, it's the contrast between facts and theater. Omar came to perform. DeVos came prepared. One relied on headlines and insinuations. The other relied on actual process and law. And when those two approaches collide, the outcome is inevitable. By the end of it, Omar's gotcha moment turned into a lesson in how not to conduct a hearing. Instead of exposing corruption, she exposed how weak her own argument was. And DeVos, she showed exactly how to handle a political ambush: stay calm, stay factual, and let the other side implode under the weight of their own narrative. It's moments like this that remind us how much of modern politics is built on optics rather than truth. But when someone pushes back with facts and patience, that whole illusion falls apart. DeVos didn't need to win the exchange with attitude or outrage. She won it with composure and clarity. What do you think? Was this a fair line of questioning, or was it a failed political stunt from the start? Let me know your thoughts down below.